Money doesn't change a person, it just reveals who you are. It just magnifies your heart.
Are you just trying to build your kingdom? For what purpose? Whenever you die, it's just money that can't go anywhere with you.
We just need to, as a culture, lose our obsession with this is mine. Like, this is my own. Everything that we think we own is just a loan. It's his. It's not ours.
And that's not even saying that God wants everything of this world.
Yeah.
He just wants your heart.
He
wants
your
you to
heart.
be a good steward.
Hey godly girls and guys, this podcast is for God, from us, and to you.
You're listening to XOXO Godly Girls. We're just two best friends who like to talk and love Jesus.
Tune in every Friday for new episodes wherever you stream podcasts.
We're excited to grow with you in this faith journey. Are you ready?
Hi everybody, welcome back to the podcast. My name's Abby.
My name is Tori.
And you're listening to XOXO Godly Girls. Today, if we seem a little skittish, we came up to the studio and there was a bat, and so we're a little freaked out as to where that came from and if there's any just looking at us right now.
Holes in our ceiling.
But apparently they don't have eyes, as Luke comforted
Luke said
us.
they don't have eyes, but I think they're blind. Like, bats have eyes.
I don't think I want to know. So, anyways, bats.
I wish we would have taken a picture. It was like,
it was terrifying. And then we were told it like connects to sound waves, and we were playing our little song to get in the mindset of today. And we were like, well, it's probably out there just praising Jesus. Like,
that bat is loving those worshipful sound waves. Anyways,
but
what are we talking about today?
Today on the agenda, we're talking about greed and money. That was our topic of today, and why we chose this, I don't remember why.
I don't know. You were like, I have such a good title for an episode. And I'm like, okay, give it to me. And you said, is money the root of all evil, or am I? And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Now we have to talk about it. So that truly is what got us here. And we are doing kind of a season right now for the month of May. Yeah, for the month of May. Holy conviction is what I'm calling it. And every week we are talking about something that might be a little bit convicting, and we hope to approach it with grace and love, but truth has to be spoken as well. So that's what we're going to tackle and what we're going to talk about.
That's good. I have a little Bible verse that goes off of the... So I'm in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. So it says, "For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs." I think, like, growing up, I think people have said money is the root of all evil. And it's funny when you read it, it's for the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil.
Yeah, money itself isn't bad. I remember we went to a conference deal last year, and they talked pretty heavy on money and the importance of getting the right people to have money. Like, if good people with good intentions had money, the world would be such a better place. Like, he was talking about how he had raised so much money to go to Africa and build wells for these people, and all these experiences that he was able to do. It was kind of like a financial conference that we went to try and learn some different things, but that really opened my eyes, because I'd heard that as well. It's not just that money is the root of all evil, it's the love of money. And so it's what you do with it and what your intentions are behind what you have. Like, are you using it for good, or are you using it for evil? Because a lot of people with a lot of money don't use it for good, and that's why we see it as an evil thing.
Yeah, I think it's easy to, what's mine is mine, and I'm not going to give anything. It's easy to make money and keep your money and not be willing to give. So why I'll ask you a question. Why should we give our money? Why should we
be generous? Like, what's the importance of generosity? Well, I think you just have this one life on this earth anyways, and you can't take anything with you. So you can save up all of your money, and then when you die, it dies with you. You know, I mean, if you have family, it goes to them. But if you live your life and use your money to help others, then the impact is beyond you. Like, it could be impacting their family, or that change the trajectory of somebody's life. But if God has blessed you with money, it's because he's entrusted you with it to bless others. It's not all for you. It's not supposed to be all about you. But and I get the hardship behind that too, because we're hardworking girls, me and Abby, and so it can be very easy to think, I've worked for this. Like, I've worked really hard for everything that I have, and so therefore it is mine. But who gave you the hands to do the hard work? Who gave you the desire to do the passions? Who was the inventor of, like, all the things that have made it possible for you to make that money, you know? So it always points back to God.
Yeah, I remember growing up and always being willing to give everybody else my money, pay for everything. And then as you grow older, you get a job, and you typically start out with like a lower paying job. And then you work your way up, and God trusts you with more whenever you're willing to tithe. Tithe is a big one. And whenever you're willing to be generous with your money, and he is willing to bless you with more work to make more money. And I've noticed, like, growing up, it's a lot harder to be more generous with my money, because it's my money. It's what I'm making, but really it's not my money. It's what God's entrusted me with. And so
yeah, that's true, because we had, and we can share just a little bit about this, we had different kind of upbringings with money. Not that either of us was super wealthy or super poor. We just, our mindset to how we spent money was a little different. We came to a healthy balance. We even leveled each other out.
we came a far way on both ends.
We came a far broad end. I mean, like, I grew up in a household with a single mom. We lived in a trailer, and there was a time where we were on food stamps. Like, I didn't know any of this, but growing up, it was like we didn't go out to eat. We didn't do anything like that. And if I wanted something, my mom would be like, save up some money for it. Not in like a harsh way, but in a, like, taught me this kind of responsibility. And I was not a spender at all. Like, I've had some people tell me, like, you should do some sort of financial class for how you've, like, saved money and bought a house and all this. And I'm like, no, I just didn't spend money. That was
homegrown. I was out here like, I'll get it for you.
No, but I think that sounds bad. I didn't use you.
No, you didn't.
I just wouldn't, like, friends would go out to eat, and I'm like, I'm not hungry.
But like, I got you. Order something off the menu.
The moms that are like, we got food at home. That was my mom, but that was also me. I'm like, why would I spend my money to go out and eat? I've got food at home.
So I was raised on the opposite spectrum of that. As like, my mom, yeah, she was the more of like, I'm not just going to give you the money, like, it has to be for a purpose. We would go to, like, Friday night football games, and I'd be like, Dad, can I have some money? And Dad literally opens his wallet, and he's like, $100 bills, here you go. Like, $100 bill every, like, to a Friday night football game. Who's giving their teenage daughter $100?
I'm going to tell you who. Tom Watkins.
My dad would just, like, hand over the money. I'm like, okay. And so at that point, I was like, okay, he's been generous to me, so now I'm going to be generous to other people. I wouldn't, like, just save it all for myself. I would love to just go spend it on other people, but I think he was expecting to get the change back. He never got the change back.
Never saw a dime.
And so I think that it did create an unhealthy habit in me, as to where, like, I would just give all of my money.
But it also, it taught you a heart of generosity, because you had saw it modeled. So that was one thing about you. You were, like, you've never been a stingy person. I've never thought that you've been, like, prideful of, like, this is all mine. You're always wanting to share, always wanting to get other people things. And that was really hard for me to do, because, like, to try to be a generous person, because I was always like, I need to save. And
which is good. You've done very well for yourself.
Thanks. No, I had money when I bought my house still from my first job at Steak and Shake when I was 16 years old. I'm not even kidding.
That is so funny.
It's not that I ever made a ton of money. I just
saved it.
Yeah, I'm a cautious spender. I'm a big thrifter, garage sailor, like, yeah.
So as you can imagine, like, our two worlds colliding, me just giving all my money, and Tori not being stingy, but just being, like, reasonable with your money. And
that was also very good. Like, in our friendship, I am never, like, I'm always going to pay back. So even though you're super generous, like, that's why I would be like, no, like, don't buy me something, because then I'm gonna feel guilty, like, I'm gonna have to pay you back. But in our friendship, we're very much like, you buy this, I'll buy that. Like, everything we do, we share. Everything is, like, both of ours.
It's a half and half, and it's never a question. Like, any time we go to the store and we buy one thing, it's like, oh, I'll Venmo you the other half, or I'll pay for this, and that equals out. It's never, oh, thanks for getting that. We just automatically know.
Yeah, and we never do it asking,
like a married couple.
We're married. But we never do it like, oh, you owe me this. It's just this mutual understanding that, and I think that's a very healthy place in what we're about to head into and talk about. But just knowing, like, this isn't my own.
Yeah.
like, I may own it, but it's not just mine. And so I don't want to treat it like that. But yeah, we balance each other.
That is good. We definitely do. I'm glad we came to this point so that
Me too.
I've got a good
now
savings
you're looking
now.
for a house, and now I'm able to like go out and eat.
All right. I have a little story that goes into what we were just talking about.
Okay, tell us.
It's the parable of the rich fool in Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 13. So it says, someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you?" Then he said to them, "Watch out! Be on your..." He didn't say it like that. Watch out! No. He said to them, "Watch out, be on your guard against all kinds of greed." Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Period. And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I will tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grains. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get all that you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God."
That's powerful.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's so easy to have the mindset of like, I'm saving for my future, which, yes, I think it's important to save, but I think it's a necessity to be able to be generous with your money and not like this guy had so much crops. Crops aren't going to last you like years and years and years. Like crops are going to go bad. So why not help the needy, not the needy,
honestly,
not the needy and the poor who can't afford to have the food or have the necessities of life that you're obviously blessed with, that you're gonna have to build a bigger barn just to store it for what, you know?
For what? Yeah. I think that's a very hard thing for me, and why it's hard for me to think that money is evil, not like the love of it itself, even though what I'm saying is going to kind of negate that. But I just know some people who have a lot of money, and it seems like they don't. Not everybody. I know people who have money and are super generous with it. Here's the thing. Money just shows who you already are. It magnifies. And so what you had said earlier about how he continues to trust us with more and more and more. Mm-hmm. And I think it's how your heart is when you have little. Because sometimes you can think, well, if I just had more money, then I would help people. If I just had more to give, then I would. But if you're not even being faithful with the little bit that you have, why would he bless you with a ton? Your heart isn't what's changing. Like, that's just going to be magnified. So if you're stingy with a little bit, you're going to be stingy with a lot. Or if you're like, you had your dad's money, you're like, here you go. And then you had your own money for a job, and you're like, here you go.
That's funny because it was my dad's money. Yeah, but now it's God's money. Now it's whenever God's money. Make it.
That's so true. I know your heart. That's the thing. I know that no matter how much money you have, you're always going to be using it to help others, whether that's in a small way or a big way. So money doesn't change a person. It just reveals who you are. It just magnifies your heart.
Yeah, that's so true. Going off of that, I'm in Matthew chapter 6, starting in verse 24. It says, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one you love, either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." And I think that money, it gives I wrote a couple notes down. It gives us a false security, a false sense of control, and a false sense of identity. So in the control aspect, I think it's important to know what money is coming in and what money is going out. I think it's important because whenever you're a steward, whenever you're making money, you are a steward of God's money. And so whatever you make, go to work, you are called to be a light at work, and then in return you get money, right? And so whenever you're receiving this money, it's important to I think have a budget almost and know this much is coming out. I'm not just going and spending my money on all the subscriptions I can, all the money and all the fast food that I can for myself. I'm not just taking it all in and not helping anybody else. I think I think it's important to know what's coming in and what's going out.
Mm-hmm. Being a good steward, and kind of how we laughed earlier, but you're like, yeah, it used to be my dad's money, but now it's God's money. Ultimately, everything is always God's money. And so he's trusted us to steward it, to be good owners, and honestly, not owners, like loaners. He's given this to us because everything that is of this earth is his anyways. And this is something, especially working at the church, I know that part of like what I make is somebody's tithe. And I take that very seriously, that they are trusting the Lord to do a work with their money in the church, and that's going to me. So with that, I need to be using that money to glorify him and bring it back to the kingdom, because somebody is trusting me to do so. And I don't just think that's in my work and like, oh yeah, I'm paid to do that, this is my job. No, but the money that I have is like extra, feels like the Lord's, even though it was just as much his whenever I was, at Steak and Shake. It really was. But just being smart with it and understanding that it's like you can work really hard to get it, but who owns it in the end? Yeah. Who gave it to you? Your dad, your heavenly Father. Yeah. So you joked with like, my dad, he never got it back and he never said anything about it. But if your dad knows you in your heart, he probably knew you weren't just pocketing it. No, but like you were using it to bless other people. So he had given you his own money, and then he didn't ask for it back because he trusted you. Yeah.
That's true. Thanks, Dad.
Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
I think I hit on this a little bit earlier, but when I started giving, God started entrusting me with more. So whenever my earthly dad, whenever he started giving me money, like it didn't start out at $100 bills. It was like in middle school, he'd be like, oh, here, how much, like, here's a $20 bill. And then after that, he'd be like, oh, you have friends going? Like, do they need some money? And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, probably. And so then he would entrust me with more because he, like you said, he knew that I wasn't just spending it on myself, $100 at a football game. I don't know. That's a lot of nacho cheese, chips. But he knew where that was going. So then he started entrusting me with more. Why he did that, I don't know. Gotta love him. Great dad. And then, but that like carried on into my personal life. Whenever I started working at Applebee's. And so obviously you don't make much working in a fast food restaurant. We all know that. But then started tithing. And so after tithing, I feel like God sees that the first 10% is his anyways. So he sees that you're automatically following that. And then I think we're also called to go above and beyond. So then I would also be willing to always help somebody out whenever I feel so boastful. I would always just be willing to like help somebody out whenever we'd go out to eat, or if somebody just wanted something, I'd be like, okay, like if somebody wants the shirt off your back, you give them the shirt off your back. And so like I would live by that. And so then I went to college and got a degree, and now I'm at a job that pays a lot more, but also like I'm willing to give a lot more because I've been given and entrusted with more. Not saying I'm just going out and like spending, but I'm stewarding that money by tithing and by giving to other people who need it more than me. So
yeah, that's good. And this is a hard topic to talk about. Some churches talk about money too much and some just avoid it completely, because when you tie in faith with finances, it's like, ugh. But I've seen that in my life too, where it's like God just keeps trusting me with more higher positions or higher payments, and it's because it's a test with the little. And tithing, like, yeah, the first 10% is God's, but all of it is God's, and all he's asking for is 10% of it to go back to him. And like how gracious and how loving. And I used to not understand the like importance or the purpose of tithing, but like our title today is money the root of all evil, or am I? This is how you find out if you're able to just give 10%. Like, it's not that much. This isn't a promo to like give 10% to our church. This is any church, truly. Yeah. Bring it back to the storehouse. Yeah. But tithing isn't for God. You do it like out of obedience, yes, but it really is, it's a heart check. It's for you. It's a reminder every time you get a paycheck that this is not just mine. Like, yeah, I worked for it and I have it now, but it's to keep you humble. I feel like, yeah.
So what if somebody's like at the point of, I can't give, like I can't even make rents due. Like how am I supposed to tithe or trust God with that money? What would you say to that person?
Well, it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like there might be weeks where I'm not sure if this is completely biblical, but if there's times where you're like, God, I actually don't even have anything to give, you just give what you can. There's the story of the woman in the Bible who she gave a couple of coins and people were judging her for it. And Jesus is like, she gave more than any of you because that's all that she had. And she's going to be blessed greatly for that. It's not that she gave me a ton. It's that she was obedient and gave me what she had. And from that, she received blessing. And I've heard so many testimonies of people who are like, God, this is all I've got. And then he's able to multiply it, which is actually a story I want to talk about here in a second. In the Bible, I don't have mine with me, but I'll have you read it. But that would be what I say is, just continue to be faithful and trust him, because if you don't take out that step of faith, you may never see his provision. And this isn't a prosperity gospel. This isn't us saying like, follow Jesus, you're going to get rich. Like do this. Because there are churches that are kind of like that. Like do this and God's going to bless you and there's no promise of that.
I think a lot of us are like, because we've heard that, we're expectant of, oh, he's going to multiply my income and he's going to multiply how much money I have tied to my name. But it might not always be money. It might be the things around you. Like I always have food on my table. I always have a roof over my head. Like that in itself is a blessing in what God is entrusting you with whenever you get to that point. I don't think it's always going to be a dollar amount that is tied to your name.
And you shouldn't go into it expecting that. Like you're not really giving if you're just doing something in order to receive. Like if I did something out of the goodness of my heart and I'm like, I'm giving this to Abby, then, oh, that's really nice. But if I'm just giving something to you so you give me something back, I'm giving nothing.
I got a verse.
That's
to go to that.
What is it? That's a ultimatum, not a act of generosity. And God doesn't owe us anything.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, he don't.
He gave us his life. Like, what more would you ask for anyways?
Sometimes I just want some chicken nuggets. I'm just kidding.
I'll get them for you.
Thanks. No, but off of that, I think God calls us to be a cheerful giver, not only just out of obedience, but do it out of the kindness and joy of your heart that you get to give what you have back to him and to build the kingdom. And so in 2 Corinthians 9, 6-8, it says, remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or not under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work.
I think that's the key, though. All that you need, not all that you want.
Because we all have the mentality. I've had the mentality before of just a little more money and then I'll be fine. But like just a little more money gets you what? A nicer car, a nicer something. Like God has provided you with what you need in the moment to live and sustain life and follow him.
Everything you need, everything I need, my Father has it. No, not even Tom, like my Heavenly Father.
I mean, my dad has it.
Papa Tom. The Lord will provide. I know the Lord will provide.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
Do you have anything else on that?
I just had a note that said, are you blessing others or building your kingdom? So whenever you're not giving, are you just trying to build your kingdom for what? To say, hey, my name's Abby, I have this much money tied to my name, I'm rich. Like, for what? For what purpose? Whenever you die, that money is just going to be either carried on to your generations, which is great too, but it's just money that can't go anywhere with you.
It's kind of sad. You work your whole life to, and not just in money, but you just acquire things. So my Nana passed away this year, and we had to go to her house and just like, what do we do with all this stuff, these items, these materialistic things that she spent her whole life, like, buying and adding to these collections and all this random stuff. But now we're just left with it. And it might have had meaning to her. It might have had purpose to her. But a lot of it to us was just like, I mean, it's nice because it's in memory of her, but you realize the worth of it was so small. Like, you care more about the people and the memories and the things that you can do and all of that you can make than what anyone can give you. So even if you're working your whole life to get so much money to leave with the generation, it's more important that they have you and that you make those memories with them, because now we just have a bunch of stuff and it's nothing compared to her. You know, the fact that all we have left of her is a bunch of random trinkets is like, that doesn't amount to her life. She lived her whole life and that's what's left, and some money, but I ain't getting nothing.
That's stuck in the bank account for a couple of years.
Nah, I don't think I have $1 to my name in any of my family's will.
I'll put your name in my will. Is that how you say it?
But I don't care, because if they're gone, and that's the thing, like, I've lost so many people in my life, and every time it's just like, even if I were to receive a lot of money, it would be like, I'm glad that they worked really hard and like, good for them, and I'm so proud of them. But when you have a bunch of money, it's just like, I don't really care if this is, I'd rather have them.
Yeah.
It's always going to come back to that. Yeah.
Or you can, I think a lot of times it's easy to get in the mindset, I have to work so hard to provide, and then like your family members surrounding you and they're like, well, I never really got to experience them, but now I have all these things. Yeah. Or like all this money that they worked so hard for, but now I don't have them. You know what I mean?
Or even when they're alive, like working. One of our girls the other day, when we had the conversation of what do you want to, be when you're older? What are your biggest dreams? And she's like, I just want to be rich, honestly. And you were like, that sounds so great, but what if you're just working and working and working and working to get the money so your family has an easier life, but they don't have you? Because she wanted that for her kids, which is such a kind and selfless thing, but they're going to want your love more than your money.
Yeah. One of my things I wrote down was, I'm rich because I have Jesus. I don't know if that's a quote like in the Bible, but I remember my dad always saying that to me. He would always say, I'm rich because I have Jesus and I have my family and I have you. And I think that's just an important mindset to have, especially when it comes to a cheerful giver. Whenever you give, you don't give and say like out of, oh, I'm giving you this, so now you owe me something. Like, no, you're giving and saying, this is for you out of the kindness of my heart. I'm not rich because I'm giving you money. Like, I'm still good, but I have Jesus. And so, like, that's also, like, a gospel opportunity for other people. Whenever you're a generous giver, it's easier to open up and share the love of Jesus whenever you're willing to give what you have.
That's true. And I like that too. I don't know if you've ever seen the TikToks, but it's like, I don't want to be rich, like money, fame, success. I want to be rich, and it's experiences, it's love, it's all these like great gifts of life. And so that makes me think of with your dad. I'm rich with Jesus. Like, I have everything that I need in him, and no money, no fame, no success, no anything else will ever compare to that, because that's the fullest richness you'll ever receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it matter if you don't get to spend eternity in heaven? Not much.
That's true. True that. I have a passage if you want to read it. It's in Matthew. Before you read it, I want to view it through a slightly different lens. So as we're talking, we've hit real heavy on money, which I think is a super important topic, but I love the title that you came up with. That's why I wanted to do the episode so bad, because money's not the root of all evil. We are. And talking about ownership and stewardship in this chapter that you're about to read in these next couple of verses, it talks about talent, which was a unit of weight for precious materials like silver or gold. So when it's talking about talents, it's talking about currency, it's talking about money. But when I first understood it, I heard it as like talents, like your gifts and the things that you're good at. And I thought that for the longest time. But I can see it through both different lenses. And so I want to talk about it through both lenses, because it's an interesting perspective. But yeah, you go ahead and just read 25:14 through 25. So that should be easy to remember.
25?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, and to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more bags. So also the one with 2 bags of gold gained 2 more. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you.
Let's just break down that a little bit. This was a story. This was a parable. Obviously, God's referring to us as the people who he is entrusted with the talents or the money, and he is the master that has given it to us, loaned it to them, expecting to get it back. Like, he gave it to them. And so same thing with, like, the money that has been given to you and the talents and the gifts and the abilities, that was a loan. Like, he gave that to you and he wants it back. He wants his gifts back. He wants his talents back. He wants you to use them for him. And then the one who felt like they had nothing to give, where they thought, I can't, like, all I get is this 1 talent. All I get is this 1 bag of money. And then so then the person goes and they hide it because they're like, I have to give it back to God and this is all that I have. But in hiding it, they just kept it to themselves. And God was angry at that because he wanted to bless it. He wanted to multiply it, but he can't do that without the obedience of what he had asked and what he had required. And I just thought of myself in that situation. And I'm like, I've been in both. I've been all 3 of the people that he referenced in that story, where I've been faithful with what he's given me, or I've tried to hold it to myself and thought, like, this is mine to be used. Or how did it end? It said, like, he gave back to the Lord what was his, right?
Like the last guy?
25, yeah.
It says, so I was afraid and went and hid your gold in the ground. See, here's what belongs to you.
I imagine that so petty. Like, see, here's what belongs to you because this is all that you gave me. And so then he's like finally coming back with it. And the Lord is like, yeah, it's too late. I know you were hiding it. I gave that to you for a reason.
I think it's funny. It goes, when you go down in 26 and 27, it says, his master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. And so, like, I feel like even if you are that person who's scared to use your talent or holding it back because you're like, oh, I don't want anyone else to know. I viewed it as, like, he was scared and he didn't want, like, to lose what he had gained. And so, like, he hid it from everybody else. And I think, like, whenever he says, you should deposit to the bankers, so when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. So, like, you should be able to go to others and, like, even if you're not the person in the spotlight, it's okay. God is still willing to use you as the backup person. He's still willing to use you as the person who's pushing other people to be in the spotlight, but you're the person building them up with your 1 talent. And even if you don't have those 5 talents, it's okay because God's entrusted you with the 1 and you're the 1 necessity that the other people needed, but you weren't willing to give.
Yeah, that's good. I think of the guy who had the 1 talent. You feel like you don't have as much to give. So there's probably insecurity rooted in that. If you see, like, people who have like 5, 6, all of these different things. So you feel like you don't have as much to give, but you also feel like you have more to lose because you've only got this one thing you're banking on, where other people have more. And I think obviously that, like, yeah, in your gifts and your abilities, but also in your money and in the things that God has given you. And one of the things he's given us really is like this podcast where, you know, and we buy stuff. We're smart with our money. We get things. I mean, not saying that we had to have like a custom sign or anything, but it's cute, you know. But God has entrusted us with this platform, a talent to like speak and to create, and openness to just be used. Not that we're the most talented or equipped people to be doing this, but we're open because we're like, God, everything that you've given me in the bag, every single thing, not just every penny, every talent, every gift, everything I don't even feel is worthy of being used, I want you to use it. So here we are, not feeling like we're all that good, but he's using us because we came to him with it and we were willing to be used.
Yeah, I think it's funny because when we started out, we talk about this all the time, we started out as the church camera girls. And so we learned how to use our the cameras at the church, and then we're like, oh, this is pretty fun. We should go make income from it because we know how to use this. God's gifted us with the ability to volunteer our time and learn how to use these cameras. So now let's go be good stewards and make income with it. And so that's what we did. And then now it's like, okay, we're making income, but like that's not satisfactory, you know?
Yeah.
And okay, it is satisfactory, but like it's not like everything that's like nourishing to our souls. And so we're like, okay, how can we use this ability and use the things that God has given us to build the kingdom? And so here we are sitting here, and it all started with that one talent, and here we are building
the talent that needed built. Like, we didn't know necessarily how to use cameras. Okay, so I got asked for the communication spot in our church at first. I had nothing to give. I had no background. I had no knowledge. I had nothing. But through that, I had to learn like crazy because I felt so underqualified. But I'm like, God, this may not be in my bag, but you're trying to build my tool belt. So like, equip me. Here I am to be used. But through that, I never would have thought, it's because someday I'm going to be doing a podcast with my best friend, and I'm going to know how to edit, and I'm going to know the equipment we need, and I'm going to know all these different things. Like, that's random stuff that he just gave me and equipped me with because he knew. And the other week I shared on Wednesday, that insult the college director said about, you're going to end up working in a coffee shop. Worked in a coffee shop. I loved it. But I was so upset because I just wanted to go into ministry. And now part of my ministry at the church is being over the coffee shop that's at the church. And so God is just so funny. But whatever you want him to use, he will use. He will use anything. So if you feel like I have nothing to give, like, show up. All he wants is your heart. More than anything you can do for him, he just wants you. And so if you feel like you've got nothing, let him build your tool belt and give you things to be used. Because some people he didn't even give that one talent. Yeah.
That's good.
I don't remember what I had, but I know I was going to say something about like ownership. Kind of tied in still with like gifts and abilities and stuff, but
go for it. That was all the notes I had. I just have reflection questions at the end.
Okay. Well, the thing was just, I was listening to a podcast a while back, and the guy interviewing like had said, "Oh, that's so good. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that sometime." And the guy who he was interviewing said, "Brother, you can't steal it. Like, it's out in the open. It's anybody's to use." And we live in such a world where it's like, these are my ideas. This is my thing. Everything gets copyrighted. Everything. But just hearing that was so refreshing, and it made me reflect, because there's times where even one of the pastors at our church, he'll say something and we're like, was he listening to the podcast? Because it's like, you almost have a sense of pride, like we talked about last week, or ownership, where you're like, those were my words. Those were the things that I said. And then somebody else listened and they took it. Isn't that the whole point of everything that we do? Isn't it supposed to inspire people? Aren't they supposed to want to take the things? And again, like I said earlier, they're not it's not yours in the first place. It's not my words. I hope it's not my words. We come on here and say, God, your words be heard through this podcast, not my own. So I have no reason to be prideful or to feel like I own anything that I say. I should say something and hope that it gets repeated, not be offended if it does. And so the problem is not money. It is not talents. It is not any of that. The problem is pride, ironically, as we talked about last week. I don't know. I just thought that was good because you have to just remind yourself who gave you the voice, who put the breath in your lungs, who gave you the abilities and the talents and all those things and the vocal cords that are able to formulate words and all of that. We just need to, as a culture, lose our obsession with this is mine, like this is my own. Because if we just are constantly holding on to that, then first off, if you're not doing it for other people, then why are you doing it? Like if we're on here for your own kingdom, for yourself, if we're on here and saying this is mine, no one should like ever repeat it or ever say that same thing, then you're not actually doing it to help people.
Why are we putting it out in the open?
Why are you putting it out in the open? That's on you. Yeah. You don't want your words to be said, then don't ever say anything. The moment you put anything out into the world, it is not yours anymore. It's everybody else's. It's everybody else's. And you've got to come to that understanding and be humble enough to have your things stolen because they're not yours anyways. Yeah.
I think it's funny that roots back all the way to our childhood is it's mine. Whenever we're little kids, you are playing with a toy and someone goes to like go play, another little kid comes to come play with it and you're like, no, that's mine. And it's such an easy thing to carry on through life, and you have to be so cautious and check your heart and where you're at, because nothing of this world is ours. It's all God's, if you're using it appropriately. So
very true. Yeah. And back to like parents, my mom, I bought like everything that I wanted. I bought. So like I felt like it was mine, but there was the one thing, the phone. But it was mine because it's in my pocket. I carry it around. Like I'm responsible for it, right? When you're a parent or when God gives you something, it's because you're responsible and they trust you. But if I do something irresponsible, I'm so quick to be like this is mine. But then Mama was like, who's paying the phone bill?
Pass it over.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Even the things that I feel like are mine are not mine. Even my house that I like bought isn't mine. It's owned by the freaking government. Like nothing is mine. I own nothing. And that's okay, because it's all just a reminder that everything of this world is fleeting and temporary, and that God is the only thing that is eternal, and that everything that we think we own is just a loan. It's His. Yeah. It's not ours.
Mm-hmm. And that's not even saying that God wants everything of this world. Yeah. He just wants your heart, and He wants you to have be a good steward of what is on this world, this earth, and be kind and be generous and be a cheerful giver.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, you can't serve two masters. So if all that He wants is your heart, that's all that He wants, then you can't be giving your heart to money. That's why He only asked for the 10%, to just show Him like, hey, you still have my heart. You're more important than this. I can give it up.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. Is there anything else you wanted to go in?
I don't think so. I think that was the main things for me. But yeah, you said you had some reflection questions?
I do. I had some after we were prepping for this, I was reflecting on like, where is my heart at? How can I be better? So I thought these were good ones to just ask. For you to have, not you, for you to have a heart check, you selfish little girl. No, just for everyone to just take a step back and see where your heart is. I think it's important to we always say this, to have your heart checked, because if you don't check it constantly, it's gonna become corrupt.
It's deceitfully wicked.
Mm-hmm. So, number 1, what do I fear losing the most? Number 2, where do I find my security? Number 3, do I hold my money loosely or tightly? And number 4, when was the last time I gave sacrificially?
If you're listening right now, I don't know where you're listening. Like maybe you're doing something, this is a pastime. As you're like cleaning or working out or driving or something, but I encourage you, go back and listen to the questions that Abby just asked and jot them down. Like, put them in your notes if you're able right now. Go ahead, rewind, and if not, pause this right now, come back to it later, and journal it. Like, don't just type it in your phone. Literally get a piece of paper and a pen and write it down, because I think those are great reflection questions to just take a moment and check your own heart and see where you're at, not just in your money, but in your life.
I think these are important too. Like we talked about earlier, even if you're in high school and you don't have a job, I think it's important to start now, stewarding what you have and making sure that, like, right now, what little you have is for the glory of God, not for the glory of you. And so if that's you, go ahead and do a heart check as well, because it'll carry on for the rest of your life if you don't start now.
That's good. It's much harder to get new habits the older that you get than to form them whenever you first hear of something like this. So yeah, thank goodness God put us in each other's lives to balance one another out. But it was hard for us to change our patterns, because that's how we grew up. But it's not impossible, and we are living proof.
That's
Evidence.
True. That's facts.
Yeah, so find the balance. I think that's my biggest takeaway, my biggest key point for this, if we're talking financially, is find the balance with your money, how you're spending, how you're saving, and most importantly, how you're glorifying God and helping other people.
Is it the love of money that's the root of all evil, or is it you?
Or is it you?
Last question. Write it down.
Yeah. Self-reflect. That's all we ask.
All right. So with that being said,
XOXO, godly girls. I just don't understand how anybody else ends a podcast. Like we just look at each other, and it's like, when you say that being said, we're like, yeah, this is it. But how do other people just stop in their conversation and be like, that's the end?
They're probably just like, okay, bye. They probably say, well, thanks for listening today.
Well, they do. And I've listened to other podcasts, but I feel like we never know when we're ending.
We never have, we could go and talk forever.
We could talk forever. But the moment one of us says, that being said,
that's it.
I just don't know whether, I just can't imagine that another way. Anyways, yeah, XOXO godly girls.